Oh, so my mic is actually close to me. Hello, world, and welcome to We Build Wednesday. It's been a little longer than I intended it to be since my last stream when I built Kuuga here. But we are back. And tonight I am going to be building Kuuga's bike. Or today, I don't know. It's still light outside, which is unusual for my streams, but I'm building Kamen Rider Kuuga's bike. I have this in frame. The Trychaser 2000, which is of course the package art you were just looking at in my countdown. So yeah. The bike was originally a police motorcycle, a high-tech police motorcycle. Ichijo kind of took it on the down low, borrowed it, let unknown number 4, aka Kuuga, borrow it, and they just kind of never got it back from him. 1 second.
Tailored zombie Esther. Can't type cat on lap.
That's fine. Anyway, it's just offering a brief overview of the Trychaser. It's a advanced high-tech police bike. Ichijo kind of took it for Kuuga, and it just kind of became Kuuga's bike. Eventually, it broke, and they got him the Beat Chaser 2000, which there is not a kit of to my knowledge yet. Get on it, Bandai. But anyway, the Trychaser is a little bit more iconic, and that's what we're going to build. So let's get on with it. Move this back. Not what I meant to happen. There we go. Alrighty. I've adjusted. Fucking move. I've adjusted my setup just a little bit. The table's turned 90 degrees, so now there's a window to my right. My stuff's much closer. You can't see what I'm pointing at, but what you're looking at behind me now used to be to my right, and the wall you're used to looking at is now to my left. Anyway, so yeah, 90 degrees, and it's a little bit more better. Anyway, let's get on with it. I've opened this box once already just to look at the contents, but let's do so again. We got gold. I like gold. Change this to that view. Contents. Got like what, 1, 2, there's the wheel, the rims, tire, 1 tire, 2 tires, and this frame of just assorted motorcycle bits. It's a Kuuga symbol. It is not colored in. That is 100% stickers, I guess. That's not even on the sticker. You have to fill that in with paint. Okay. So yeah. Assembly instructions. The following instruction before use. I will read this. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Okay, let me get a picture of my contents here, and then we can let the build begin.
Devin Legrand. Hoop hoop.
Hey Devin, welcome. Welcome to my show. These are not going to fit in frame, but that's okay. I'm just going to take a picture and move on. All right. This is A, I assume. It's A, okay. A, B is all the gold bike pieces, the rims, the handlebar covers, the gold things on the back of it. Real nice plated gold. Which means if it's like the regular Kuuga kit, they're going to be a bitch to get off the phone. This is D. This is E, this must be C, yes. Ooh, actual rubber tires, that's nice. That's fresh. This is B, okay. All goes well. Should be a pretty quick build, I feel like. That's my hunch. You know, an hour, 2 hours tops. That's what I'm leaning towards. And this is a wire and a spring and some extra decals. There's the Kuuga symbols. Okay, they're dry rubs. My phone go this time. Damn it. Misplaced my damn phone. It's probably somewhere extremely obvious, and I can't see it. I'm blinded to it. There it is. I was right. One more thing, one more picture of all the components.
Facebook user. I could not do the pipe part for the life of me. I just tightened up the pegs and it worked perfectly fine.
Well, that's not reassuring. Because I have no idea what that part does. Is whatever. Okay. Let's get some entertainment going. Chrome.
Part of it? You planning on being part of it? You want to be part of it? You have opinions?
Okay.
Thoughts and feelings?
Let's get on with it.
He's got thoughts and feelings.
2023 seems to be the year of the animification of Superman. You have the heavily shonen and inspired My Adventures with Superman, which has taken certain segments of the fandom by storm. Never forget how thirsty the internet can get. It's Miguel O'Hara times 10 over there in some parts of the My Adventures with Superman fandom. But that's not the only Japanese-influenced Superman outing to explore in 2023. In fact, we have a straight-up manga to look at. There is an English translation of the manga.
Devin Legrand. Top scene is him using Trychaser to fight.
Oh, absolutely. Echo, huh? Is it only when I talk, or is it the video?
Sailor Zombie Esther. Video, not you.
Get a mouse for this. Other than just muting it and letting it be,
Superman vs. Meshi, which was originally released in Japan in 2021, but it has been getting an official English translation as of summer of 2023. I say the internet can get. It's Miguel O'Hara times 10 over there in some parts of the My Adventures of Superman fandom. But that's not the only Japanese-influenced Superman outing to explore in 2023. In fact, we have a straight-up manga to look at. There is an English translation of the manga Superman vs. Meshi, which was originally released in Japan in 2021, but it has been getting an official English translation as of summer of 2023. I say official because you know there were people out there, yo-ho, translating. Now, the official release is also coming alongside Operation Joker, aka The Joker Raises a Baby Batman, and Justice Buster. Now, as much as the Joker raising Batman intrigued me, for some reason I was drawn to Superman eating food first, so I decided to start there, and oh boy, what a ride. Time of recording, there are 3 issues up on the DC Infinite app, and they're also going to release 2 trades, so you can physically hold it in your hands. This seems to be the year of DC doing that, because also the webcomics are being released, and you can hold them in your hands. Even though there are only 3 episodes, I couldn't wait to talk about the sheer madness and just the direction it seems that Superman is currently taking time recording. There's just a mishmash of manga tropes, Superman having lunch in Japan every day, so get ready to get hungry and explore a different perspective on Superman. And the Justice League a little bit. We're going to explore Superman versus Meshi. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics. I have a chair now. Look at this. It only took, what, 3 years? Superman vs. Meshi is written by Satoshi Miyagawa with art by Kai Katago, and it presents us with a world where Superman and the Justice League are super effective. There's almost no crime, so to speak. So Superman has a lot of free time to indulge in some of his new passions, his new food love. For Superman has discovered that he loves Japanese cuisine, and he needs to go and get it from the source. That's right, he's the superhero from Krypton, Superman. But at the moment, Superman is standing in line outside of a ramen restaurant in Japan. You see, Superman stands in line just like everybody else, for he truly is a saint. Also, they say in the story that the reason he can just walk around is because most people just assume that he's cosplay fair. It looks super delicious. Apparently, he's super hooked. I hope you like puns. In general, in Japanese media, you'll find a decent amount of puns, largely because they play out a bit differently when you can actually see them in kanji. There's a whole other level of appreciation that can take place there because you can physically see the shape of the character and the meaning, and then that can play into the overall meaning of the word itself. So there can be an added layer of humor and meaning there that you can just instantly visually pick up off the bat, and that doesn't always end up translating over. But the pun stays. In fact, the whole second chapter of this largely revolves around that kind of joke of Superman trying to just figure out the characters using his super mind, and part of the joke is that he gets it wrong. It plays decently well in English. It's probably a lot funnier in Japanese. Also, yeah, chapter 2 where he has super moods that change super fast. I'm concerned about Superman's hangry mood swings. In general, that's one of the more interesting things about reading this manga. It's getting to see another culture's take on Superman and how that plays into how he's presented and how he handles these tropes and how well they work for him or how well they don't. This is different than, say, My Adventures with Superman, which is attempting to replicate and borrowing some tropes from anime, but it's still filtering it through a Western lens and understanding of Superman. Here you have something else. It's also interesting to see which version of the characters are chosen design-wise. For example, when you see Lois, she is heavily inspired by Margot Kidder from the Donner films. The Donner films were also a strong inspiration for My Adventures with Superman. Just connections. Connections everywhere. In this scene, in chapter 1, where Superman is rather Clark is talking to Lois, I'm just very concerned about the smile he gives her. The first panel says, I like her. The second panel says, I'm going to eat her face. So the first chapter is mostly about a hungry Clark using his lunch break to fly to Japan and get himself some yakitori. And he goes to check out a restaurant chain, which is a real restaurant chain, and yakitori is shown to be Superman's gateway into Japanese cuisine. And then we get a little flashback. He was saving a street merchant from a raging kaiju who very much looks like some kind of variation of Steppenwolf, but they don't dwell there because that's not what's important. What's important is that after he wins, the merchant offers him some leftovers, which he takes because they're only going to be thrown out anyway, so might as well. And it's amazing. It's life-changing. The flavor is so magnificent, so exquisite that he loses control of his powers. In general, when you're doing a comedic take on Superman that tends to be something like, whoop, he can't control his powers, it can work, but it's best not to lean into the joke too hard because then one has to start thinking about, well, he's had these powers since he was young, shouldn't he know how to control? If you lean into it too hard, it can stop being funny. You gotta use it sparingly, like a spice on your yakitori. Nani?
What is this? This is like no chicken I know.
So much Cyclops energy in these panels. It's very reminiscent of the losing control because of deliciousness jokes you'll see in Food Wars, only way less sexy. And like Food Wars, this also has some loving illustrations of food. But unlike Food Wars, it does not have recipes, so you can then go and make it yourself. Minus 2 points. Lots of little moments in this made me laugh. Superman's Boy Scoutness is dialed up to 100. Nay, it's actually over 9,000. I'm sorry, I know that joke is old and played out, but it was right there. Anyway, here's Clark telling the waiter he'd like to order a beer, but he'll have a soda, because he never drinks and flies. Now, you may be wondering or asking, where's the conflict? Yes, this may be heavily slice of life, but something needs to happen. There needs to be some kind of obstacle for the Man of Steel to overcome. Well, get ready, because Superman decides to order some chicken kettle rice, but he forgets to read / does not notice the fine print that says that you have to wait 30 minutes for it to be cooked. And you know what? That's going to take him past his lunch break, and he'll be late. And so evil Superman was born. No, that'd be great, though. He does lose control again and burn some holes in their menu. I hope he's going to reimburse them for that. But you know what? Your rice isn't cooking fast enough? No problem.
This looks like a job for Superman.
That's some Silver Age nonsense right there. Now, while that is ostensibly the main conflict of the issue, there's actually something going on under the surface. Superman's true struggle is introduced here, as while he's eating, he starts to ponder some things about his life, and he laments that he really hasn't had time to hang out with Lois, and crux of the issue is that this Superman is lonely. He feels very othered, especially now that there's not really much crime, and that was how he was hanging out with people, doing things, what he was writing about. He feels kind of unmoored. It's very New 52 in terms of him feeling a bit like an outsider, but with a cheerful post-crisis personality, and with some sprinklings of Goku in there. So many stomach-rumbling jokes. Chapter 2 is the Superman struggles to order issue, which admittedly for me didn't grab me too much, but it was chapter 3 where I knew that this was going to end up on my shelf, and then I went and pre-ordered both volumes. This is where they start to add more of the characters, and you get to have a look at some of those different characterizations, and also just Clark's angst, and it goes a bit off the rails, but in a sweet way. Actually, for this series, it's not off the rails, but just in general for what you may be expecting. Also, it really low-key feels like you're reading an ad for all of these restaurants. It has a bit of a more serious vibe of that DC KFC pairing comic. That one was just wacky, because that's how KFC likes to advertise. Never forget their dating sim, their Lifetime movie with Mario Lopez.
What? I'm falling for the new chef. Jessica is falling for Harlan.
The cook? Leave Jessica alone. Let's get down.
So Superman's life has come to pretty much revolve around these outings, his lunches in Japan. He even tries to cut a pretty boring Justice League meeting short. It's boring because, well...
Who knows? It very much depends on who's writing, I think. Okay. This is a big black sticker. Sticker 14 and 18. it's 14. Oh, that white bit? Okay. I could paint that black. Where does 18 go? 14 goes. Okay, I can paint those. I've got a white marker and a black marker. Let's do this.
They don't really have any crimes to deal with, but Batman insists they still have to have these meetings. I'm pretty sure that Cyborg's sleeping through it. Batman even chews Clark out at this, saying that isn't protecting the Earth his real job. I mean, maybe, but it doesn't pay his bills, Bruce. Are you gonna pay him? You could. Now this scene, which made me love this comic, was not meant to be hilarious, and yet it was because of my history with just some of the other comics and the character they're talking about. It's a Hal Jordan moment, one of my favorite things. That reminds me, where's Green Lantern?
This is the world's most powerful team. I'm proud to fight alongside them.
He didn't show up again today.
But, to be honest, I'm not sure I fit in here. Every time I look at Wonder Woman, it feels like I'm ogling her, however you say it. Green Lantern hasn't shown up for quite some time now.
Devin
Batman
LeGrand.
is the anchor, but he's also
Flash can't
unrelentingly
even
serious
get drunk and they have
gloomy.
similar
Hold on. Can we
metabolisms.
go back to Hal hasn't showed up for some time now? Has anybody gone to check on him? Is he alive? Did he slip on some soap and die on his apartment floor? Did he get kidnapped by Sinestro again? Did he get arrested for trying to bust up crimes ending up on film sets again? I don't know. It just amused me so much. Superman having this deep existential crisis. And they're like, hey, is Hal, alive? What happened to poor Hal? I care. Now, the whole setup of this feels vaguely Snyder-esque, especially in terms of how they're positioning Batman and Superman, with Batman in that more mature leader role and Superman less so. Even rejecting Batman's offer of a bagel sandwich from Alfred when his stomach grumbles, and so they all know he's hungry and that's why he really wants to leave. I want to know what kind of bagel sandwich it was. That can be the sequel. Clark just has lunch at Bruce's house every day. This Superman doesn't come across the most authoritative or confident, and he's a bit overwhelmed in the group setting, saying that he does better with them one-on-one and that they work well together as a team, but that dealing with them all outside of the confines of a fight, he's just having a hard time dealing with it, and he thinks that maybe he works better alone. Superman with social anxiety was not what I was expecting out of my Superman Goes to Have Lunch in Japan manga, but here we are. Layers. Well, having food adventures cheers Superman up, and he ends up accidentally ordering the All-Star Tempura Bowl, which he proceeds to use to analyze his teammates. It's very silly, but also kind of sweet, and just funny. A lot of the jokes in this, because they are meant to be humorous, made me laugh, and if this type of humor lands for you, you're going to enjoy it. If not, it's going to be hell.
It's kind of like the Justice League of Tempura Bowls. Maybe I'll call it the Justice Bowl.
Hop on that trademark TM. Hal ends up being the green beans, and Superman wonders if he's okay. Maybe you should go check. Somebody should check. It's probably a vampire and forgot to close his curtains. I did post the panel of Clark trying to decide whether Wonder Woman or Batman should be the shrimp tempura, and he's trying to decide between the powerful Wonder Woman and the rich Batman, which a lot of you had things to say about that phrasing.
I'm rich.
He ends up deciding that the powerful Wonder Woman is the shrimp tempura and Batman can be the mushroom. The dilemma of this issue, aside from
Devin
Superman's kind of
LeGrand.
background anxiety about his
Best
relationships,
Lantern
is that he eats all the tempura first, and that leaves him with all the rice. How will he make it delicious? There's a whole segment of how he makes the rice exciting. This series is definitely not the deepest, but it's also not as shallow as one may anticipate. There are some emotional dilemmas for Superman, and it's interesting to see more vulnerable and excitable Clark. If you're one for the manga art style and just enjoy those types of tropes and a very heavy slice of life feel with some emotional angst on the side, this may be for you. Although the art style is a bit of a fusion, playing with more of a westernized look, and some can find that a bit disconcerting. It's certainly not for everyone. If you're not down for slice of life or the heavy focus on food, the seemingly low stakes, then this may not be the series for you. Will Superman eat food with his friends? Yes, and I'm looking forward to it. Remember Hal for the food he didn't get to eat. In general, it feels as though, time of recording, there has been a bit of a shift in what the popular portrayal of Superman is. Superman has existed for over 80 years, so there have been tons of adaptations and just different directions the character has taken, and they tend to reflect the mood of the time. Prior to the 2020s, there were a lot of dour takes on Superman, be it in canon, outside of canon, or in adaptations. You would have more serious takes, more fascistic takes questioning whether Superman should even be there.
What are we talking about here, then? Must there be a Superman?
There is. You would also have flat-out villainous takes, and there would be a rise of adapting the more evil pastiches, and those themselves would come to be quite popular.
I think you should jump.
I don't think I want to. You don't want it? Why don't you show a little follow-through, Chelsea? Jump.
It appears that while those remain popular and they are still enjoyable,
Right.
it also highlighted some of the more
C7,
positive aspects and attributes of Superman, and people seem to have resonated with wanting to see those again. And so you're seeing more and more positive and upbeat and uplifting Superman portrayals. Also, just in general, to get philosophical, it's been a difficult few years, and Superman at his core is a hopeful, aspirational character, and so people seem to want some of that and just to have a little bit of fun in general, not everybody. And you're seeing that across mediums. Now, not everybody appreciates it. Some people feel that it takes Superman to too much of a kiddish or not serious realm, that more of a balance needs to be struck. But also, you know, eventually people will get tired of it and we'll be back to Superman ripping hearts out of chests, eating them. He hasn't eaten one yet. We'll have to get really dark for that. Anyway, this series puts me in a good mood, and I wanted to talk about it and share it with you, and hopefully it does the same for you. Or if not, you know what to avoid now. Have you read it? Are you reading it? Are you enjoying this more slightly optimistic era of Superman? How do you like your Superman? Tell me things down below while I brush this bang out of my eye. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. How do you feel about this chair? I feel like it may give me too much freedom with my arms. I'm looking forward to seeing you in another vid. We have so many topics to cover, and I can't wait to get to all of them. Until then, I'll see you when I see you in the next video. Bye-bye. You both have things to say, huh?
Damn it. That's backwards. There we go. That's there. And then C7. We'll cover the top. C. There we go, C7. There should be a new episode of Superman out, I think. I might check for that. Yeah, that goes there. Okay, let's put it in the right spot. Okay. Let's just go to... Oh, I did need to watch this, didn't I?
They printed up a copy of Chris's book with the same cover, but instead of stuff about Chris's life in Japan, it just had tips about breastfeeding. Japan.
Devin McGrath. When you do model kits, do you glue even if it's
Hello and
snap
welcome
kits?
to the Abroad Japan podcast.
No, I do not glue. Very rarely do I glue pieces. Only if it's extremely loose do I bother with glue. Or if something breaks, I'll glue the pieces back together. But generally speaking, for snap builds, I just snap them together. For multiple reasons. One, they don't need the glue. Two, if I do need to take them apart for any reason, if something doesn't fit right, I want to be able to do that. So I reserve glue for just pieces that will not stick via friction. Good question. Oh, it said there'll be a gap. Okay. I didn't notice that. Rear tire.
Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broader, but joined as always by England's top Japan enthusiast, whose face you'll finally see if you're watching on YouTube, Mr. Pete Donaldson III. Pete, how the devil are you doing? Are you as nervous as I am about taking the podcast to YouTube?
I love that we've been doing this podcast for 5 long, arduous, stressful years, but for the first time, you can see this podcast in full HD on that there YouTube. And Chris has got incredibly nervous, incredibly worried about what people will think. We've been doing this for 5 years. We've been spaffing out a lot of nonsense for 5 years, and you suddenly seem very concerned about the content of the podcast. I love it. I love seeing you on the back foot, Chris. I love it.
Well, it's because the podcast, because it's like audio only, right? And most folks don't understand how podcasts work. I didn't know how to listen to podcasts before I did it. It's like a little secret room that we have at the back of a shop. And we come on in, we'll tell you about things. And now it's on YouTube. It's like we've opened a new store, and anyone can come in. And more worryingly, people can see just all the food and drink that I consume while I do the podcast, right? Because we always talk about, like, oh, Chris, what are you drinking, what are you eating? Yeah. Now you can see the energy jelly, you can see the iced coffee, you can see the half-consumed Pocari Sweat bottle, and this. Pete thought this was medicine. This is Porbitan D. Right. And it's kind of like, it's in a medicinal bottle, right? And it's just like Red Bull on steroids. It's got like nicotine.
That's right. I thought you'd got into, what is it the rappers drink? Purple Drank, where they mix cough syrup with like Jolly Ranchers and stuff.
It sounds like the Flaming Homer out of Simpsons.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird to be here and doing this. I realise a lot of you are going to be listening to this anyway, normally. But you can check us out on YouTube, Abroad Japan Podcast YouTube channel. A lot of time went into thinking up that name, as you can tell. Yeah. But I'm here. It's kind of cool. We're doing this in the brand new studio that literally just opened 2 or 3 days ago. And as you can see, it looks pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same, except at the back. Instead of the Blade Runner projection, the electronic store's there now, and it feels a bit bigger and weightier, right?
So
what do you think?
So you're the person who's hoarding all those cathode ray tube televisions that are just so expensive these days. You're the one that's riding up the prices, for crying out loud. I've also got a television behind me, and one
showing off.
I'll probably just turn off because doesn't seem to be doing anything at the moment. That's the thing with like old sort of 70s, 80s tech. It's lovely to look at. You know, it takes you back to a more innocent times, but it's very hard to get working in 2023. It's difficult.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 TVs over there. Only 3 of them work. I think one of them, American Pete broke like 2 years ago when I first opened the studio.
Welcome.
I let Pete in, right, which you should never do. And he was like, "Oh my God, a SNES!" And he went in the electronics store. He pulled some cables, and then 3 of the TVs just never came back on.
Oh dear.
So I'm not letting him in this studio. He's not coming in.
Well, I mean,
this time.
I am going to be visiting Japan pretty shortly, and I'll have to sneak in. Maybe I can get one of the
Devin Legrand,
because I've become
you
very
happen
good
to
at this
see
sort
Nikolai
of thing,
Henderson's
in a
juicy
very
helmet?
short period.
I have Nico blocked after he was a troll in our group for the last 5 years. That's why he's also banned from FBKR. So no, I have not seen anything he's done.
Time because I had to, because I'm alone and I don't have any help.
I mean, you come in. There's also a big 1970s
Devin
TV.
Legrand.
Obviously, if you are watching this, guys, you haven't seen the other.
Yes, Nico was banned from FBKR Plus for being a troll. He's always pushing the admin's buttons, trying to skirt the rules, and we said enough is enough and banned him. He's begged to come back a couple times. We've said no. Used to be my friend, but that was a long time ago. About 10 years ago, actually. We hit it off well, but he went in one direction, I went in another, and it did not work. He is a great modeler, great costumer, but not a person I want to associate with. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
The side of the studio, it is spectacular. And I was going to do the podcast over there, but it's all a bit of a mess, lots of cables and things. I figured like maybe I'll start this whole month. We'll just do it like this in this room, and then maybe we'll move over there next time. But it's also because it's like an enclosed room set. The air conditioning doesn't get in, and it turns into like an oven, which is one major flaw in the height of summer, having a set like a 1970s house.
The great thing about Japan is that like most of it is very well air conditioned, but it's just those pockets where you actually have to get out into the streets at times. It's so goddamn close is the word I'd use. Just very, very close, hot, humid weather.
How British are you?
I know.
Talking about the weather.
Talking
about a little bit of rain. I've got to fly back to the UK in a few days, and there's like a typhoon coming, so the plane will just get like blown out the sky. And you're worried about 8 days of rain?
I am, yeah.
Get out.
I am.
Get
I
out.
like it.
Honestly. But seriously, guys, really exciting to be here on YouTube.
Yep.
I looked this up earlier because I don't know the stats. We've done 445 episodes
Oh, wow.
of the Abroad Japan podcast. Isn't that insane?
So we're coming up to our 500th, and I presume I've probably deleted a few by accident when I've been uploading a new one. So yeah, that's amazing. So we're coming up to our 500th anniversary. Brilliant.
Absolutely, and you know, I think we're about to get a few new listeners who don't know anything about the podcast. We do have a little bit of a format. It isn't just two annoying white guys turn up and chat about shit. There was a
that's the formula of most podcasts, and this is a rather successful one.
I don't know about that, but the format is Pete and I catch up. Pete talks about the weather.
Yeah.
I talk about how I've eaten some fucking chicken and cheese, fallen down the stairs. Then we, after a brief catch up, we have Story of the Week, where we read out a story sent in by you guys, usually something crazy and horrendous. Then we have the News of the Week. We talk about current affairs and things going on here in Japan. And then sometimes, if you're lucky, you might get Speedy Japanese, where we teach Pete some Japanese skills. Because he's coming to Japan in just a few weeks' time, for the first time in 3.5 years, you might need all the Japanese you can get. And we finish things off with 3 questions from the fax machine. And I do actually have a fax machine that I should try and dig out, because now we can physically have it.
Yes, you can
and
turn
we
it
can
on.
print it off. We could do it. A lot of effort, though, isn't it?
It's a lot of effort.
We'll do that.
Let's make it very clear. This ain't gonna happen. But you do have a fax machine. I'm very proud of you.
G1.
It's not gonna happen. No. But yeah, bit of a wild week. But I've the book's just come out as well.
Yes.
So really bundling a lot of things into a very short space of time here. Podcast launches on YouTube, book launches.
There's quite a few people sort of messaged me with pictures of their pre-order of the Abroad Japan book, saying I'm supporting the podcast. I was like, this isn't supporting the podcast. This is supporting.
Pete's not even in it.
I'm not even in it. I'm not even mentioned. This isn't supporting the podcast. This is supporting Christopher's attempts to become a top 10 bestseller.
Sunday Times bestseller. It's happening. It's going to happen. We find out in like a week.
Nice.
It's going to be quite. I'm genuinely like nervous because I really want that. I'm not going to write another book again. Let's face it.
Right.
Unless it's like 100 things you shouldn't do in Japan. Could be a good book to be fair.
Show me the money, Penguin. That's what I'd be saying.
Yeah.
Show me that if you want another one and it's successful, you show me the bloody money.
But if it sells well, they might be back. I'm under the same publisher. It's got Penguin and there's Transworld, and they publish, you know, your favourites like your Prince Harry book and your Richard Dawkins books. Then Abroad in Japan, bit of a step down.
Oh, the big one.
Actually, I don't know. I think, no, I'm not as good as Richard Dawkins. I'm not. No. Prince Harry, don't know. But anyway, let's not go there. But it's it's kind of nerve wracking because only one shot at the Sunday Times bestseller title. I mean, it's the first 2 weeks of when a book is launched, and then all the pre-orders. So if I haven't got it, I'm fucked. I'll never be a bestseller, and my dream is dead in the water. I'll have to write another book.
I'm sure you've shifted a few copies. I know of at least 3 copies that have been sold.
Fantastic.
And I got a freebie, so.
You did. You should have bought one. Should have helped me on my goals, Pete. Yeah. But thank you to everyone that bought the book, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed reading it as much as I enjoyed writing it.
I like the bits.
I hate when people say that.
I like the bits about the breastfeeding.
D17, E6.
If you're unfamiliar with the previous episode of the Abroad Japan podcast, Chris, some enterprising. Were they Chinese? I think it's an enterprising Chinese company decided
American,
to.
Actually.
Oh, American, right? They took Chris's cover for his book, uploaded an e-book. No, it wasn't an e-book. It was an actual version of the book, wasn't it? Actual physical version of the book. They printed up a copy of Chris's book with the same cover, but instead of stuff about Chris's life in Japan, it just had tips about breastfeeding. They sold a few copies to some people who are fans of the show, fans of the channel.
I got quite a few fakes in America did it because we have quite a few listeners and viewers there, and a few people like, this is hilarious. I bought the book. Yeah, this is really funny. What is this? This is going to be a limited edition one day. And then I got like one really sad, devastated person who was like, I've waited a year for this book and I finally ordered it. My mum bought it as a present for my birthday, and it
Well,
arrived.
he gave me permission
and
to
I
share
opened
the
book,
pictures so you
and
get
all
to
I
see them
found
if you
were
want to.
tips on breastfeeding and the ins and outs
I
and
don't
the
care.
highs and lows of
Of all the
breastfeeding.
things, of
And
all
they
the
didn't
things
find
they could have
humour.
they could have put in there, the breastfeeding just really makes me laugh, because they could have put like a car manual or
Yeah,
like, I don't know,
yeah.
a guide to, I don't know, cocktails or something, but they went for some reason.
All right.
They just put
That's coming along
breastfeeding
nicely.
tips in there. Oh,
Why?
lordy. I don't know.
It's really weird.
You look like a guy who just knows how to breastfeed, man. What can I say?
It's not looking good here. I haven't been doing press-ups recently, but like,
TV13.
it is really weird. Like that person, the author, it said like abroad in Japan, author Todd LB. So Todd LB, you bastard,
Yeah.
it's your fault. Todd LB, he thought, I know what abroad in Japan would do. Breastfeeding, innit? Ridiculous, but I literally, I do think if you have that copy, keep hold of that.
Yeah.
It's worth something someday. $10.
When the apocalypse comes and you meet a woman on a lone traveller on the road of life, and she's finding it hard to express milk.
Oh my god. Either that or firewood in the post-apocalypse. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's crack on with story of the week. We've got a story this week from Dennis from Gothenburg, Sweden. Of course, Sweden. Hopefully, now the podcast is going on YouTube. There's a joke, for those of you who don't know, that on the podcast audio, most of our listeners are from Sweden. Either they're mostly from Sweden, or Swedish people just seem to message a lot more and tell their stories.
They've always got the best stories as well, and it's usually because Swedish people are tall and beautiful. They have tall and beautiful adventures in Japan.
That they are. But now we're on YouTube, who knows? Will the Swedish demographic keep up? We're going to find out soon enough. But anyway, Dennis from Gothenburg says, hello, contoured Chris and perplexing Pete. My wife and I spent our month-long honeymoon this year in Japan, mid-June to mid-July, travelling around with unlimited train travel. Rest in peace, affordable Japanese rail pass. Yes, we'll get onto that later. After we spent a couple of days in Osaka, we went to Kumamoto for a couple of days. One day we went to Kumamoto Castle to look at the impressive castle. The day was extremely hot, and we'd still not acclimatised to the heat, or for that matter, to the culture and the rules. After walking around the castle for a couple of hours, we decided to go down the road to go to the store and restaurants at the foot of the castle, since we were starting to get tired and my brain was turning into mush from exhaustion. We started to walk down the road when suddenly we heard a voice yelling, "Stop!" in Japanese and English. We looked around and a guard was motioning for us to come closer. It was at this moment we realised we were walking down in the middle of the road and not on the sidewalk. Fucking hell. What's going on there? My first thought was that it finally happened. We had our gaijin moment. We made our way over to the guard, embarrassed and bowing profusely, saying sorry and gomenasai. The guard then put his hand into a pocket on his shirt, front pocket, and I was certain we were going to be fined or something similar. To our surprise, the guard took out an origami throwing star and handed it to me while smiling for me. He also took out an origami crane for my wife and gave it to her. "For you," he said, and waved us goodbye. As we kept walking down the sidewalk, our dumbfoundedness turned into laughter. We jokingly said we should maybe break the law again and see if we could gain more presents, which we did not. The following weeks were great, good interactions with other people around Japan, but our running with the law was special and something we couldn't stop talking about. We took special care of the origami that now live in our bookcase at our home. Thanks for the podcast, guys. My commute to and from work is much better when I hear your voices. Kind regards, Dennis from Gothenburg with his origami crane, showing that if you break the rules, you will be rewarded. Right, Pete?
And this is kind of why I really enjoy doing the podcast, because pretty much every week someone has a crazy experience with the law, with a hostelry owner who just goes above and beyond to make people feel special and make people feel welcome. That's a lovely thing about Japan, that like people do go the extra mile, and they do bloody love handing out paper origami throwing stars, it seems.
It's so rad. I'd love to like restage this as a sketch, like the terror as the guard like reaches into his pocket and is like, "Oh, origami star." And it's like, what the fuck? Why is that? That's brilliant.
While holding his gun.
That's great though. It just shows if you break the rules, you get rewarded. Gaijin smash.
Yeah.
Apparently.
That's your Gaijin pass.
It reminds me of that time I drove through the toll booth without paying and saved some money. Don't do that.
Don't do
Please
that.
Don't break the rules.
People do
Don't
get
learn
very
from
flustered.
my
But I think if you are ever going to drive through a toll booth, do it in Japan as a non-Japanese person, because they get so flustered they're never going to stop you.
No, and worst case, you get an origami star.
Yeah. Exactly.
What they called shuriken, right? The stars, the shuriken, the one where you like ninjas throw them, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine if it's made from paper, it might not be quite as potent or as powerful
as devastating
as the metal counterpart. But anyway, what's going on in Japan this week, Pete? Well, I guess one thing is we're recording today a little bit ahead of schedule. It's August the 6th. That is the anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing.
Right.
And of course, you guys might be familiar with the whole Barbenheimer situation. I say situation. For most people in the West, Barbenheimer is a joke just because of the sheer ridiculousnly of having Barbie play against the story of making the atomic bomb. And a lot of people are curious, is Oppenheimer.
Little Daddy Oppenheimer.
It's like a restaurant, isn't it?
Oppenheimer,
it's not
today has kinda just sucked, and I wish it could be over without me sacrificing what free time I have
haven't really
left.
elaborated on why it's not come out here, but I think to be respectful,
yes,
because the film's coming out in the weeks leading up to the anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing. But people in Japan, netizens in Japan, are not taking it so well comedically. And interestingly, one of my former students from 7-8 years ago, a really nice girl, she posted on Facebook. She was really angry about Barbenheimer.
Right.
But what she posted, it seemed like she didn't really know. It's one of those things. Like to us, it might seem like, why is that offensive? Like Barbenheimer, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But then in Japan, what's being played out here, when you see photos or images of this, it's literally, you've got Barbie and Ken, and then a mushroom cloud. And that isn't as funny to see something like that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, take us away, Pete. What's going on?
So, there's been a bit of a social media storm swirling in Japan after the US social media accounts for the Barbie movie acknowledged the Barbenheimer mashup memes. A lot of people got very upset. Warner Brothers Japan headed over to its own Japanese language Barbie account on X, the platform previously known as Twitter, and basically apologised that they were participating in the whole Barbie Oppenheimer kind of memery. Obviously, over here it's very funny, and it's been quite a long-running little kind of meme that we're mixing kind of Barbie and Oppenheimer and stuff. But the US social media accounts for Warner Brothers have to be a bit more thoughtful about things, I think, and a bit more respectful. So if they get involved, it's seen to be kind of like diminishing the effects of what was a devastating event at the end of the Second World War, and if they don't, they seem like they're not much fun. So they're kind of caught between two posts, I think, in this. Quite difficult, isn't it?
It is a bit like the atomic bombings are taken very seriously in Japan. It's the aspect of World War II that's sort of taught the most here,
right?
From my experience, what I witnessed.
Makes sense.
And anyone that's gone to Hiroshima, like myself, have you been to Hiroshima? You have.
Yeah, I've been to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think the Peace Park, I think it's a very affecting trip. I've said it before. We did turn up, and there were two Marines that I met. One of which decided to. He was drinking like a strong zero at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he was just he was coming out with some absolute lines. And I was just like, mate, like, have a bit of respect. Like, we were right in front of the bank in which obviously the atomic bomb was dropped, and
Hiroshima is somewhere I really recommend going if you ever come to Japan. I never forget standing in front of the they call it the A-bomb dome, the Genbaku Dome, and it's the dome. It used to be a music hall, and I think it was built in the 1920s. And
I thought
the
it was
atomic
a bank.
bomb went.
Interesting.
I think it was some sort of community centre of sorts.
Right.
But the bomb went off directly above it, and the pressure came down, and the concrete sort of structure the concrete brick structure maintained itself because the pressure was coming down from above rather from the side.
Yeah.
One of the few things that remain. I never forget like standing in front of it and just being in awe of this structure that I'd seen so much over my lifetime in history books and whatnot. It was a really moving thing. But the museum itself is really moving and demands to be viewed. And whatever your stance on the atomic bomb and if it should have been used, if it shouldn't, it's the most important thing you come away from is thinking, let's not use these again. Let's learn from this, and let's learn from the mistakes of war. But highly recommend going. And it demands to be visited. Hiroshima. It's an incredible city, and also very inspiring. Like just seeing a city survive a bombing like that, 70,000 people wiped out, killed in an instant, but you go there and it's a very flourishing city. It's a very successful, very vibrant, wonderful place. And to see it in the history books flattened by the bomb, and then go there and walk the streets and see what it's like now rejuvenated and rebuilt. It's a very powerful experience, and you come away with a lot of hope as well. It's a beautiful place, Hiroshima. Check it out. We'll be back in just a moment, guys, with the stories, comments, and questions in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What have we got this week from our listeners, Mr. Donaldson?
We got a message from Sean from Wisconsin, a longer time listener, says Sean. Hello, Cheesehead Chris and Polka Pete. God knows. Cheesehead. My question, every time we do these emails, somebody comes up with a new name for each of us. My question for you both is this. What do you normally do for breakfast? Here in Wisconsin, there's a big brunch culture. To go out late in the morning after a long night of drinking and get some Bloody Marys, mimosas, and delicious fried foods. I've not seen or heard much discussion other than morning markets. Do you have any places you would recommend, Sean from Wisconsin? I mean,
Devin LeGrand.
Good God. I love a Bloody Mary. But a Bloody Mary in the morning to a bit of hair on the dog, I can't be doing with it, to be honest. It's just a little. It's just too. It's just like day drinking after night drinking. Just does not work for me, and I'm a big fan of drinking.
I mean, this isn't a normal situation though, Sean, is it? Unless everyone in Wisconsin goes out and gets drunk every night, which maybe they might well do. I don't know. I mean, I usually have like a protein shake for breakfast or something.
Oh, off to the gym. Off to the gym with your protein shake. Lovely.
Sailor Zombie Esther.
4 months.
You should paint flames on the side of the Trychaser so it goes faster.
That's definitely science.
Bad. I don't have a routine. Although it could be worse. If I was in the UK, it would be like a fry up every morning. Or sometimes actually Charlotte makes like an avocado egg thing. And
avocado chili flakes and a bit of Tabasco.
Yeah,
lovely old job. I would say
Charlotte's
with Marmite in that avocado is very nice actually. If you're outside of the UK or Australia. Try and get hold of some. They do this new version of Marmite. It has truffle
Sailor
flavor.
Zombie Esther.
Like truffle oil in Marmite, and it really works. My partner hates it.
Look at this. It bends in. It's got the suspension, the spring for suspension there, and it bends. That's great. That's so cool. Okay.
Sailor Zombie Esther. That's pretty cool.
And then D15 goes over here. Goes on this side, D15. Cut the wire to approximately 100 millimeters. I need a ruler. And it snakes there. And around. Get a reference picture here. You barely see that cable. I guess that's the starter cable. I don't know much about bikes. You have no idea what it goes. It goes into the front wheel, the front tire, somehow. Barely perceptible. I'll be right back. I need to get a ruler. I'm back. Took a little digging to find a ruler since we're doing the whole house painting thing and all that, so. 100 millimeters, 10 centimeters, 1/10 of a meter. Is that long? Make sure, measure twice, cut once. All right. And where's this attached to on this side? Starts here. And it just kind of snakes its way. I may need more of that. It's hard to say how much should be sticking in there. Not really any indication. Resume my video here.
But yeah, I think it's delicious.
I mean, last time I had Marmite is when I poisoned my Japanese friends in Yamagata, back like 7-8 years ago, and just do a rerun with the truffle version. Maybe they'll like it with the truffles in. But Marmite plus truffles equals no. I don't imagine that's good, Pete. Honestly,
I like the Natsuki breakfast, which is just 5 cigarettes, a cup of coffee.
What was it he said? Natsuki, my breakfast: coffee, cigarette, and 2 cigarettes. It was like brilliant. And when he climbed Mount Fiji, I think he had the same thing. He did have his coffee and his 2 cigarettes.
2 cigarettes, nice.
It saw him through. Yeah, it saw him through. You got a question from Danielle. It says, "Evening, carrier bag Chris and Pickpocket Pete. In the UK, we all have to pay for carrier bags. This is the same in Japan, or are they too polite to ask you to pay for one? In the UK at the moment, it's 30 pence for a bag. Would you suggest if I come to Japan that I bring a bag for life, or do they generally have no issue with the bag tax?" Thank you, Danielle. You could bring a bag for life. It'd be weird packing a bag for life on a trip to Japan, wouldn't it? Would
I think it'd be adorable to just, instead of taking a bag or some suitcases, just 2 big Sanos, orange bag for lives.
To be fair, I did bully my cameraman Paul the other day. We were on a shoot on an island, and we walked up to a supermarket, and one of our friends we were with was like, "Has anybody got a bag for life?" And I was like, "Who the bloody hell has a bag for life?" And Paul went, "Oh, I've got one here," and pulled it out of his camera rucksack. And I was like, "Oh my god, Paul!" But fair play to him, it was very useful. Yeah. You do have to pay for bags, but it's like 5 yen, which is like basically free. So yeah, but let's save the planet. We got one last question from Una Mandler, who says, "Hello, Chris and Pete. Sorry, I'm not good with alliterations, like everyone else." He sends in questions. My question for both Chris and Pete is: everyone knows about Shibuya Scramble Crossing and Golden Guy. What are your personal, secret, must-see places for someone who's about to spend a year and hopefully more in and around Tokyo? Kind regards, soon to be in Tokyo, Una Mandler. I'll toss my hat in the ring and say Shimokitazawa. I find since moving to Tokyo, I spend a fair bit of time in Shimokitazawa. It's kind of this trendy area. It's a little bit west of Shibuya. Yes. Lots of shops and boutique places. It's kind of a cool place to chill. And I'd only been there once, like 7-8 years ago. As a tourist, it's not worth going. But if you live in Tokyo, it's a cool place to spend time. Lots of cool like coffee shops, hidden restaurants. I found a bar that actually looks a lot like this set. Maybe the set designers stole the design. There's also like a Yoda. Is it a Yoda bar or a Star Wars bar?
Oh yeah.
It's just a man with loads of Star Wars paraphernalia and Yoda. It's kind of cool. What about you, Pete?
I'm to be honest, it's really weird. Like I was literally just on my phone there trying to remember the place that you said. Cause I was like, well, it's got like a lovely little kind of like trendy second-hand clothing kind of vibe to it. There's like loads of little shops. There's a great little store that sells sort of old football tops, and like if you're used to buying like retro football soccer tops in the UK or the US or wherever you may reside, if you go to Japan, people look after their stuff so nicely. You're in a situation where when you buy these football tops, and you know it won't be like just J League tops, but they'll have like stuff from like Serie A from like the 90s and stuff, like proper decent retro tops, but they're all in excellent condition and they're pretty affordable. Like J League tops in particular are very expensive when you buy them on eBay or online on these kind of like retro soccer shops, but the ones they've got in Kitazawa they're really, really nice. Really, really affordable.
Devin
and I spent a
LeGrand.
good afternoon
They
there last
ever
time
come
I was
out
there,
with
and
Guram
I will
that can
return
snap
shortly.
onto this model?
I'm sensing a money-making
Not to my
scheme.
knowledge.
This is the
fingers
come over
crossed.
here, just get a big suitcase,
Import,
stuff
export.
them all in,
Bag for life.
flog them back in the UK.
Get a bag for life.
Yeah, bring the bag for life, stuff them
I
in.
believe
Genius move.
Gorem only attached the Beat Chaser. I could be wrong. It's been a couple years since I last watched Kuuga, so I could be wrong about that part. So they haven't released a Beat Chaser either. To my knowledge, they haven't released a Ultimate form. I'd have to double check. I am not the be-all end-all expert of what the Figure Rest standard line has released from Kuuga. I know they did, Mighty Form was the first set. I bet Trychaser was the second. They did Premium Bandai parts to create Rising Mighty and Amazing Mighty that they then sold as a set of themselves at retail, Rising Mighty and Amazing Mighty. And then the other forms were sold, Dragon, Pegasus, and Titan were sold as 2-packs, where you can build either regular Titan or Rising Titan, etc., etc. One body, 2 sets of armor. Kind of like what they do. No, they're not doing that with the Deno sets.
Devin LeGrand. Missed opportunity to be sure.
Man, we can only hope. I mean, I tend to agree, so fingers crossed. I mean, the thing is, when Golram combines with Kuuga's bike, the show prop changes to an entirely different model of bike. So, yeah. The Golram plus Beat Chaser or Trychaser, whichever, is an entirely different make and model of bike that it's built off of than the regular Beat Chaser, and it's like, I didn't realize it, but someone else pointed out to me, and like I looked at the side by side, it's like, oh, this is, they didn't just stick, extra stuff on the Trychaser model or Beat Chaser model. They actually, just made it. They used a new, a different bike that I guess can support more weight to modify. D2. Let's get fancy.
Keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to BrawnJapan podcast at gmail.com. That's how you guys can submit your questions and stories for all of the podcast. We should probably make it a little bit more simple now. We've come a long way. 400 episodes. We should probably just be like podcast at abroad.
Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, sort of
That's not going to make the audio listeners feel very special. Now we're on the telly. We've given you a new cool email address. I'm not having this. People have been listening 5 years. Email Chris. Have a go at him.
Bike.
Well, the Abroad Japan Podcast Gmail address, it's like the great filter, right? It gets rid of all the spam and all, because it takes effort. It's like, oh, fucking hell. And some people mess up the letters, and they're not worthy of sending
Not worthy of your attention.
It's like a little Indiana Jones quest. Type in the very long, cumbersome email, you get your questions answered. But we'll be back later in the week, guys. For now, thanks for joining us in our first ever YouTube podcast. This is going to be happening. 2 episodes every week here on YouTube, and continuing, as we always did, over on iTunes, on Spotify, and everything else, Acast. But, guys, thanks for joining us. I'm going to finish off this coffee and run off, but we'll see you later in the week. For now, have a good one. We'll see you right back here, all over again, on the Abroad Japan Podcast. Bye for now.
Bye!
Why didn't they say to cut it then? It didn't. Oh wait, this is different. Oh, okay, it's a different section of the wire. But anyway, yeah, if you look at the actual, the stock, the control photos of the bike with and without the armor, you'll realize I think it's like the base bike is a Kawasaki and the Goron bike is a Honda or something. I don't know. I don't do bikes. But yeah, very different structures. I need a screwdriver here, hang on. Come on, get off. There we go. Did some damage to that bit. I really wish they would tell you how much to stick out. Oh, it's the brake. That's what it is. The brake cable, I guess. That's interesting. Just go through the handlebar. I'm gonna leave that piece off for now. Another piece. 25 millimeters. This is an interesting design. It's not an easy way to do this. Wants me to wind this. I don't have a way to do. Okay, that kinda twists this. It's difficult to do.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Watching Tangamushi talk about Silent Hill 3 when I hear you sneezing from another tab, what a bizarre experience.
Sorry. Let's try to get this damn...
Sailor Zombie Esther. No worries. And bless you.
Thanks. Okay. Comes out there and through there. Attach the tire. Then A14 on the other side. It's supposed to be at a movie in 5 minutes. Fortunately, the theater is 5 minutes away, and there'll be like 20 minutes of preview, so it's whatever. Okay, A5, that's the wheel cover. Okay. E8. That'll finish off E. That's just a support. Looks like. Yeah, it's just a display stand, basically a small display stand. So this kit is copyright 2021. What is the Kuuga kit copyright? Kuuga kit, the main Kuuga set is copyrighted 2020. That makes sense. Sense enough, I guess. Okay, stand the bike up. That lets me build things out a bit easier. D6 and 5. I guess it doesn't matter which way these go. Okay, that goes in like that. See, 18 and 19 make the handlebars. A lot of work still to go. This entire, a lot of outside details. Might have to just call it a night. That was 19. That was not. Yes, it was. Okay, so the one, this wire goes through here. Okay, it attaches. Okay. So in response to what Devin was saying earlier, this might have to be glued. This wire, the brake cables. Because I don't think friction's going to hold that. That's gonna need to get glued in. Okay, that's one side. Let's do the other side. Our handlebar, and then I'll call it a day because I need to get to my movie. The that goes over the handlebars.
Devin Legrand. I'm gonna need to head out. My battery is almost dead.
Yeah, I'm calling it here for now anyway, because I gotta go. I would still have to put on all the gold accessories, but there is the structure, the basic frame of the bike. I'm not sure if I'll do it on stream or not, but I'll come back later and I'll do the rest of this. Just all the accoutrements. So yeah, we'll figure it out. Let me put this. Let's go through there, fine. Okay, set that up front. I need to tell you how to wind these things. Anyway, let me just put this here. Need a little more, just a teensy bit of slack. That's backwards. Okay. All right, I'll refine that, and I will come back another time, and I'll finish this thing up. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, I don't know, but I will build this, finish this build, and yeah, that'll be the plan. Thanks for coming. Have a great night. Sorry I didn't finish. I didn't think this would take as long. Just ran up on my time, so yeah. Goodbye. I'll be back.